Shana Tova. This is so lovely because it's true. If I'm standing up here looking out at all of you, it's because I'm looking for someone's parent, usually. So this is very nice. Yay. Hello. So every year, I think to myself, if Rosh Hashanah is a celebration of the creation of the world, then why don't we read from Bereshit? Why not the beauty of the 7 days of creation story and the creation of the first humans, or even the story of Adam and Chava, or even the story of Noah, the recreation story after the flood? Instead, we read Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Yitzchak. On the birthday of the world, we get child sacrifice. Why do we read this on Rosh Hashanah? So, when Rav Claudia invited me to offer a teaching about this, I decided this is the year that I am going to find a meaningful answer to this nagging question. I discovered what the Mishnah says should be read on Rosh Hashanah, which is not what we read yesterday. And then the Tosefta cites a different reading, which is what we did read yesterday. And then fast forward to the Talmud when we get the practice of 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. And so we learn that we read the Akedah on the second day. So I guess the answer is because the Talmud said so. But that's highly unsatisfying. And then I leaned into my Kabbalistic side, and I was like, well, Yitzchak represents Gevurah, and we have this beautiful Gevurah faith quilt. And that's literally what's happening today on Yom Hadin, is that Chesed is binding Gevurah, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to stand. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. But that's probably not what the rabbis of the Talmud envisioned. So after going around and around, I realized these answers and the others over the year were unsatisfactory because I was not asking the right questions. My real question is, why aren't we reading these stories of creation? What do we get from reading this here today on Rosh Hashanah that we would not get from reading accounts of creation? And after many Rashi Hashanah, many Rosh Hashanahs, I finally have an answer that satisfies me, and I'm going to share it. But first, I'm going to tell you a story. It's actually about this parking ticket. So I was on a walk a few weeks ago, listening to a playlist. It was a bop. I was getting my heart rate up. And I walked by this parking ticket on the ground. And the thought arose inside of me, it would be so nice if I paid this ticket for a stranger. And I laughed the thought off and kept walking. That would be a nice thing to do, but I was not going to do that. But then, as I was walking away, I felt this, and I don't have the command of the English language to fully describe the sensation that I felt in my body. But it was a dreadful, not painful, pins and needles sensation that intensified as I kept walking. So I stopped. And I walked back towards the ticket, and I stood over the ticket, and I thought, I'm not paying this random ticket. I have my own parking tickets to pay. And then I felt, I didn't hear, I felt, pay the ticket. So I picked up the ticket, and I started walking again, which didn't feel weird anymore, so I kept going. And I'm walking on my phone, and I entered the ticket number into the City of Boston Pay app, and 19 other tickets popped up for the same offense. An expired inspection sticker dating back to January of 2023. So this means this person has been driving around with an expired inspection sticker for almost 3 years. How would my paying this one ticket make a difference? I thought. I'm not spending $40 on this. And then I felt the feeling in my body again. Pay the ticket. So I was about to enter my credit card number into the app. And then I thought, what if this stranger somehow can see my payment info and use this info to empty my bank account? This is crazy. I am not doing this. And again, I felt the feeling. Pay the ticket. So I paid the ticket. And I tell you this story because it helped me understand that we're not actually reading Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac, today. We read that in Parshat Vayera, in the yearly Torah cycle. Today, we read Nisiat Avraham, the test of Avraham, and what that has to offer us about how to be in relationship with the God that we are choosing to crown today on Rosh Hashanah. It's the same story, different focus. In the first creation story, the 7 days, the humans and God are not in relationship. They don't speak. Our rabbis teach that they were created back to back. They were not in relationship with each other, nor with God. In the garden story, God says, Lo tov heyot adam levado. It's not good for a person to be by themselves. E'eseh lo ezer kenegdo. I will make a helper to be opposite him. And in this statement, God was revealing what God really desired from this relationship with humans. God knew it was not good being alone because God was alone. God still is alone, peerless in a way. But God knew that it was important to be in relationship because even being back to back, the human was still alone. And then not speaking, God was still alone. God desired an ezer kenegdo, a helper and an opposite. God did not get that from Adam and Chava. They let outside influences poison their relationship with God. They were not able to just say yes and do the thing that was being asked of them. Just don't eat the fruit, right? Nor was Cain able to just trust God and say yes and do the thing that was being asked of him. Noah was able to be a helper to God, but he didn't push back. He didn't challenge God in any meaningful way. And that's the beauty of being in relationship, right? Of being able to speak up and call people on stuff, not from a place of, whatever, but from a place of real love. But Avraham helped God. Avraham spread this word and the knowledge through all of the people. Avraham said yes. When God said, Lech lecha, go, leave everything you know, Avraham said yes. Because we read also, not in this part, but a little bit before in 15:6, Ve'emin ba'Adonai. He trusted so deeply in God, in God's plan, in God's timing, even when to our eyes and to anyone looking around, it looks absolutely hopeless, unbelievable. That looks crazy. But that's because what we're reading is not the first time, right? That's not Abraham's first rodeo. It's the 10th. There's a relationship here that's built on trust. Ve'emin ba'Adonai. He trusted. Right? The first time, Lech lecha, go off. Ve'emin ba'Adonai. And then he gets to where he's going and there's a famine, but he doesn't worry. Ve'emin ba'Adonai. And then his wife is getting taken by the Egyptians. What's he going to do? He doesn't know. Ve'emin ba'Adonai. Right? It keeps going. There's odds, there's battles. He has to circumcise himself. Ve'emin ba'Adonai. Right? And then you have to send out your son, Yishmael. And now you have to send out and sacrifice your other one. Ve'emin ba'Adonai. He had a relationship through all of this to build this trust. And even so, in the matter of Sodom and Amorah, Abraham was in loving relationship and spoke with God from a place of deep humility and love to say, this is not the God that I know, who would sweep away the innocent with the guilty. That's not what this relationship is built on. What's going on here? That's the kind of relationship God had been looking for, to be known, to be seen, to no longer be alone. Ve'emin b'Adonai. He believed in God, but what do we also say when we wake up in the morning as a part of Moda'ani? Rabba emunatecha. God, you also have faith in me. You believe in me. We're in relationship. You have a vision that I don't have, and I have these hands. I have this life. We're going to be in relationship throughout. Hineni. Here I am. I'm saying yes. And we have to trust that if we do our parts to the best of our ability, then God will do God's part. Today on Rosh Hashanah, we crown God, however we understand God, whatever experiences of God speak most to us today in this moment. We say, Hineni, here I am, all the parts of me, the questioning parts, the fearful parts, the not quite ready parts, the parts that don't really want to spend $40. I will just say yes to you. I will do what I am being asked without concern for the outcome, without worry about the outcome, because that's not mine to deal with. I trust. Ve'emin b'Adonai. When Yitzchak says, Abba, I see the fire-making stuff, but where's the sheep for the offering? Abraham responds, Elohim yireh. God will say, Lo haseh le'olah b'ni. The sheep for the offering, that's with God. I just have to walk up the mountain and bring you along. That's my part. God will take care of the rest of it. I'm doing my part. I leave the rest. I trust the rest is up to God. Because we are not in control. We are not in control. Unlike, I don't know if you've seen that old bumper sticker. It's a movie also. God is not my co-pilot through these tests of life, right? What chutzpah to say God is our co-pilot, right? Like God is the pilot with a capital P in the cockpit, huh? Capital P. Yeah, pilot, the pilot. I mean, also the co-pilot, that's spiritual and deep, but not to me. God is the pilot with a capital P in the cockpit, right? Locked behind the bulletproof doors. And I'm in the back in economy coach, right? I don't know how to fly a plane. My job is to watch. Here's my job when I'm on the plane, right? My job is to watch the people doing the safety demonstration, right? That's my job. I read the booklet in the seat back in front of me. Oh, look, it's a plane. Look, there's wings and emergency exits, and right? That's my job. And then I fasten my seatbelt and I keep it buckled low on my waist. That's my job. I trust that God is going to take care of the rest, right? And it works for our trials in life, right? What are we supposed to do? We read the instructions. Look, the instructions are right here, right? We have the instructions. We read and we study these instructions. We pay attention to the teachers and the guides who are trying to show us the way. And we observe what we need to observe around us so that we're ready. And then when the plane takes off, we keep our seatbelts fastened low on our waists, right? We practice this spiritual life. We practice through prayer because that's what we have when we're going through life. That's all I can control. That's all any of us can control. Everything else is up to the pilot with a capital P. On Rosh Hashanah, we are collectively saying God is our pilot. We don't know. Elohim Yireh. We don't even know. We have our little window on the left side of the plane that we can look out. We don't even know what's happening on the right side of the plane. We don't know what's happening above the plane. We don't know what's happening behind. Elohim Yireh. Sometimes, though, when we're getting off the flight, we get a glimpse into the cockpit. And so, we have to admit, I still don't know how to fly a plane, so it doesn't do anything. But as I was walking back home after paying this ticket, I felt like I got a glimpse into the cockpit. You know, it could be that this person was about to get a boot on their car. But because I reduced their ticket by 1, they wouldn't get that boot, which means they would be able to drive to somewhere that they were desperately needed to be. I don't know. Or, without that boot, they were able to leave that parking spot, which made that parking spot available for the person who needed to park there because they needed to be there. I don't know. Maybe this car belongs to someone I unintentionally wronged in this life. And so God was giving me this opportunity to pay a karmic debt that I didn't even know I had. Amazing. Or maybe, because as we just said, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, God extends kindness through the generations. Maybe my great-great-grandmother owed a debt of gratitude to the great-great-grandchild of the person who owns this car. And here was finally, after all the cosmos aligned, that finally this karmic debt could be paid. I don't know. I don't know how to fly the plane. I can look at the instruments and imagine, but I don't know. All I can do is do what I can do. And when every fiber of my being is calling me to do a thing, I have to say, Hineni. I have to say yes, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it looks crazy, even if it's unthinkable, because that's what's being asked of me in this relationship. So, friends, we cannot control any of these outcomes. We can't control the outcome of any war. We can't control any outcomes of losses of life. We can't control the outcome of this America project. We can't control our children's lives. So we say today, God, I crown you, the one who is in control. I say, Hineni, here I am, willing to do what I can and leave what I cannot fathom with you. So for this first Aliyah, we welcome up all of the people who are more willing today to say, Hineni, here I am. All of me, all of the parts. And I do have to say, if you come for this Aliyah within your heart saying, I want to say yes. I'm here for you, God. I want to say yes. God will respond with opportunities to say yes. So you have to be ready for that. You have to be ready. But if you're as excited to go into this new year with an attitude of Hineni, here I am, you're invited for this Aliyah.